Very nice to see you.
And nice to see you all. Good afternoon.
Yes, so here we go. We're starting this. So basically, we've got with us Adrian Eneglia. Obviously, I'm Mark, and then we have Mark Middleton. Mark, just tell us a little bit about yourself. You've brought us all together to talk a little bit about how leaders can be better and more extraordinary on Exodus trips. So if you just maybe talk a little bit about who you are and what's the drive here.
Yeah, sure. Well, again, we've got quite a bit to cover, but I mean, the loose idea is to kind of talk about the market, a bit of feedback about our leaders and kind of what makes them different and extraordinary, and a bit of sort of SOPs, standard operating procedures, I suppose, posh word, but WhatsApp, and we'll finish off with a bit of sustainability. But where do I fit into all of this, I guess, and why am I here? So my posh title is the Global Leader Manager, which means that I'm here to support all of our leaders worldwide through our operators. So that's to get that consistency globally. So the Exodus brand kind of comes across the same wherever you are in the world, and there's that sort of same standard and understanding of our brand. I've been around a while with Exodus, started in 2002 on the overland trips. So I worked in East Africa and South America for a couple of years. More recently, some trekking trips in Italy, but nothing like your sort of larger trips. This was very much rolling hills of Tuscany. So yeah, been around for quite a long while, mostly on the vehicle side, and then this new role started January last year. And I think we've known each other for a while, Mark, haven't we? So
we first met in 2003.
Crikey, yes. Yeah, we're only 10.
Yeah. How old are you? Yeah. Cool, excellent. So I just want to add on to this as well. So very much the same theme. So session is going to get recorded. We're going to put it onto YouTube. It's going to basically be linked that all our other leaders in the team can listen to. But equally, it's going to be we're going to set up a WhatsApp group for this as well. So if there's anything that generates comment afterwards that leaders think, oh, I've got something to add to this, whether it's a positive, a negative, or a thought, then we've got a WhatsApp group that we can sort of continue this discussion on. So this is
Excellent.
Really hopefully the start. And then obviously we can move on from there.
Yeah, sure. So it might lead to more sessions or whatever we need, I guess. So excellent.
Excellent. So, Mark, it seems to be where we wanted to kick this off with the market now, and where's Exodus within it, and maybe a little bit about. We seem to get a lot of Americans. I don't know if that's sort of across the board. And what's your feel about 2026 Exodus clients?
Well, I know it's tough times out there, isn't it? So I can't dress that up. But I think the beauty, Exodus has been around a long while, over 50 years now, and we're part of this bigger machine in the States, which is bringing in more traffic from the States, so you're getting more Canadians and Americans coming through.
Do we get more and more every year? Do you know, Mark? Is it going up or down? I mean, I don't know. I've heard this guy on the news. What's his name? Trump. That was him. I don't know. He says he's stirring shit up, but I don't know. Do we? Is it crashing the dollar or not? What's going to happen?
Well, he's certainly not. He's not driving bookings to our eastern part. So he's definitely not. He's definitely not. It's definitely increasing, and I think the beauty for Exodus is we're still allowed to do our own thing as a company. Yep. We're still very much an adventure company, but we've got the backing of this kind of corporate and all the ideas that brings. So we still are working on all the continents, 25,000 customers a year, and 120 or so partners like you. So to talk about the market, it's down for sure. We're hoping there's going to be a bounce. We've done some surveys out with clients, and it's looking like people are obviously holding off to book till they see what happens. We hoped the bounce would come back into Europe. So we're not selling the Far East, but we hoped that bookings would be much bigger in Europe. But it seems like overall people are just holding back. They just don't know what's happening in the world, and possibly that American market is just avoiding our part of the world entirely at the moment and flying across the pond. So but hopefully for later in the year, which might not help you guys, but by the end of the season we're hoping things will have picked up again.
I think it must be noted that overall I think that the clients that Exodus attract are like middle class to upper middle class, but these are people that have earned their own money, probably have mortgages to pay, so they probably can afford it. They might well drive a BMW, but it doesn't mean the value doesn't count. And I think that's very sort of keen within Mark, with Exodus. But equally, as you say, they're not so rich that they'll just come on holiday anyway. On the bright side, though, from looking at past recessions, I think themes or trips which are themed, so specifically trekking trips in our case, I think trekkers often go trekking anyway. And when times are tough, people still quite enjoy a holiday. It's not necessarily, I mean, I think if they can afford to go, they do go. I think that there will still be last minute bookings. I think actually the World Cup has a little bit of an effect as well. I remember from last World Cups, there is a little bit of a sort of dip going down. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get actually quite a flurry of late minute bookings, especially after the World Cup finishes. Well, let's see. But I mean, it's
see
what
happens. Well, certainly the TWN is still our top seller, and I mean, again, we looking forward. 2027 bookings overall are very strong, so people are booking ahead. So they're obviously hoping for better times.
And we've actually got quite a lot of bookings already for 2024 from private groups and 2027 private groups. So I mean, it's actually happening as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think just to finish this sort of section off, Exodus is still very much in the. I know we get an older clientele. 54 is now our average sort of age range. Yeah, it is. But I think from the groups I've certainly met, people are still coming with an adventurous spirit. Being a bit older doesn't mean that they don't want a good time and be out there. And again, that's where our reviews against our competitors count. And we still do have some big trekking trips. Don't forget, we've still got Merah Peak and Everest Base Camp, some big stuff out there.
So, I mean, like you sort of, when we're talking about that, I mean, obviously we're concerned with the trekking, but I mean, overall, what do you think sort of makes Exodus the market leader? What do you sort of feel, who is the market? Who are our direct competitors? And what edge do you reckon Exodus might have over those other would-be triers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the big boys are Intrepid for sure. G Adventures, they're kind of our big competitors. But I think it's our leaders, to be honest. That's our USP. It really is. And when you look at the scores, which I know we're going to do, you'll see where that's sort of sitting, and that's our driving force. I mean, they're the people on the ground. That's what's making us better for sure. We can talk marketing all day long, but it's people's experience on holiday that matters.
So, I mean, this was obviously very much focused on the leaders at the moment. So you said that we've got a bit of stats or statistics about leaders.
We've just got a little bit of the feedback process, which I'm not going to spend long on. So there's a slide here that just talks about kind of how we ask your leaders at the end of every trip with our HEF, our holiday evaluation form, we ask them to remind clients to fill that out. And this is really just talking about the response rate. We get around about 50% response rate, which is quite good. And that's down to leaders really, giving people a bit of a push. So please keep doing that. From that information, that tells us everything about the leader, the trip notes, NPS score, right the way through.
What's an NPS score? Sorry, it was a jargon we didn't know.
It's a score out of 10 for the trip overall. Net Promoter Score, it's called. So what you're actually trying to do is get a 9 or a 10 as a positive. Anything less than an 8 is actually removing itself from the score. So sort of 7s and 8s are what they call passive. 6 and below is a detractor. So if we get 1 to 6, we've already got our customer services all over it. So, but you'd have to have a pretty poor trip overall to be getting in that area.
But could you just have, say, a real disaster with whatever, because, say, a hotel, but the leader was great, the food was great, the actually itinerary ran regardless, would that still just bring the whole scores down there? It would just look like a disaster of a trip then, even though so many elements within it were actually good?
I think how our scores are made up, I think that NPS score, that would, let's say, that would be probably then a 7, an overall score, but they would then probably say, well, no, look, no impact on the leader. They did a great job, so they're kind of up there in a 5, but the accommodation was rubbish. It was down at a 2. So there's areas they can split that out. So I'd hope one part doesn't affect another, but the NPS is like an overall enjoyment, I suppose, of the whole picture.
Can I just ask, in the past, we used to sweeten the pot for the clients by giving away £500 in a monthly prize draw of Exodus vouchers. Does that still happen? I'm not seeing it on the slide.
No, it doesn't. That was when I was doing trips. That was a big thing, and that was always a nice little way to get people to fill that out. I'm hoping that's going to come back. It's being talked about. So
if we could pass some feedback up the chain right now, I think is a good idea, because it's something for us to hang the end of the holiday on, and I do think it actually actually does make a difference. I think it's quite sweet for the sake of 500 quid of a repeat client. Maybe it's something that Exodus could consider. Just a thought.
Yeah, sure. Let me see what I can do. But it has been talked about, so for sure. I think there's lots of detail we could go into here, but please keep pushing the hefts. It's absolutely invaluable info, and the more responses we can get, the better balanced view we get of the trip. So then if one person is upset with the accommodation, maybe 5 are not, and we just need that balanced view. So please keep pushing. So let's have a quick look where we're at. Overall, so I've got, for those that are just listening, I've got a graph on screen here. So what this is showing is over a year, over 2025, we had 1,500 departures roundabout. And of those departures, 72% actually the leaders scored 4.8 and above. So actually just amazing scores. And for you guys last year, you were 4.77 overall across 2025 across all leaders. So you're doing pretty well, is what I'm saying. So as a global average for 2025, we got 4.75 out of 5, which was just a little below where we wanted to be. But because of this kind of huge amount of operators getting and leaders getting this score of 72%, we're hoping to push that target for 2026 up to 4.8, which I appreciate is a high bar, but I think it's possible. So I guess that's my job to try to make it happen.
So I think it's worth noting for us, I mean, right at the end of here, this massive big bar here. So we've got a huge bar which outdwarfs all the others, and that is leaders earning a 5, like basically top.
That's 46%. You know, when you're in there as well.
We don't have that many. We have some, but not that many. So our average score comes down to 4.77. But actually, the majority of leaders overall, they're actually earning 5 points. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they are almost half of all trips the leaders are getting. 46% of all trips the leaders are getting a 5 out of 5, which is pretty incredible, isn't it? So
I do think it's incredible, because I think a lot of people, when filling in a survey, even if they had a really good time, they would often say, well, there's always room for improvement. If we just give them 100%, they'll stop trying. So sometimes people underball it anyway, but in this case, I think people are not. So I think it's if they are underballing it, we're doing incredibly well off the back of that, regardless. So
no, it's very well done, unless leaders are actually getting into that form themselves and tweaking it up, but that's not possible. But hey.
So I know that we're going to go on and talk about the best of the best and how we can sort of use them as templates, but just a short one about I've got access now, which I didn't used to have in the past, to something called Quadrex. And what it is effectively a live portal where I have limited access to at least our feedback, and I can find out. So if someone posts a note, like yesterday, I can still read it. So what it means is that, especially at the beginning of the season, especially with new leaders or the new crew and so on and so forth, we can look, and if people have sort of filled the feedback in, say the Monday or Tuesday after the end of their holiday, I can start reading it. So when we meet you guys or the leaders generally for the accounts, what's going to be able to happen is I can go on and get a summary of what people thought. So it gives us a little bit of a quicker ability to course correct, because before it took like ages and we didn't really get to start getting them back until the middle of the season.
So are you going to start sort of collating that feedback then, Mark, or are you?
Yeah, very much so. So we have a lovely lady called Claire who does me a little bit of collating stuff in the background, and she is going to basically summarize. As you said, there's many factors to the score, but often what we're interested in is how the leaders are doing, how the crew are doing, food and accommodation and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I will look separately to how hotels are doing and transport's doing, but obviously we want to zone into the leaders, and that's what this lady Claire is going to do. So I'm going to be able to have a quick look of just being like, what fundamentally went right or wrong on previous trips, and they've given us an opportunity to hopefully sort of see where clients are upset or not a little bit earlier.
Excellent. Well, as well as these sort of HEF reports, we're obviously very keen for third-party reviews, we're calling them, so places like Trustpilot. So I think again, some of your leaders are kind of pushing that, aren't they?
Well, very much so. I mean, so we find generally that people on who write the PEFs, they actually write the truth. If they weren't happy with a vegetarian meal, they will tell us they weren't happy with a vegetarian meal. Very nice, I think. But I really like the reviews which are on the Exodus website, and for those I will pay a bonus for. But also, it's actually, as you say, it's very good that clients actually sort of have a chat to us with Trustpilot, Facebook, other places like that, and where they can sort of give their feedback on our trips as well. Fortunately, for the most part, happy clients tend to give that feedback, and unhappy clients, for the most part, just leave their unhappiness in the hefts, which I think is actually quite nice, because even then a client who isn't happy, I think it's actually very good that they make the effort to write something negative. Yeah. The other thing they can do is like, it's not my job to fix these guys, I'm just going to go on holiday with someone else next time. And they're not doing that. So I think it's quite nice that Exeter's clients have a certain amount of loyalty, even if we do, to a certain degree, drop the ball from time to time, to at least they actually come and tell us, and at least giving us the opportunity to improve, which I think is
absolutely.
Really
and we've just jumped up from 4.8 to 4.9 on Trustpilot. So again, you were talking about our competitors, but actually we're doing really well in the marketplace with that score, and that's super important nowadays. People are sort of searching in a different way for holidays. AI is kind of trawling the internet, and it absolutely looks at places like Trustpilot. So when you put in, I want a walking trip in France, it's definitely looking at those reviews and giving recommendations based on it. So it's important we get all of that right.
Do you think when people are writing feedback about holidays generally, these type of holidays, not holidays in our sector, how high or how important is the leader within that, as opposed to the hotels or the weather or the itinerary as a full stop or anything else? I mean, when people are searching and AI is sort of doing this trawling, how important do you think leaders are in sort of either getting basically reporting a positive message about our trips to future potential clients?
I think it's certainly high, and that's I mean, definitely we're putting leaders at the forefront of everything we're doing. There's a real sort of drive in our marketing, and it's something we want to shout about. And I'll just move the slides on actually. So we've got a variety of sort of videos and information now that people can find on the website, but I think ultimately they're looking for that great experience, and I can turn up in your area with a guidebook and have a wander around, but you guys, the leaders, are going to just make that experience that bit special, aren't you? I'm going to see things with you that I'm just not going to find. So I think it's a really important part of people's holiday, and I think they do now start to search for that, and that makes the difference.
Absolutely. I do think it's very interesting. So Exodus, obviously, I mean, the thing is being pushed more and more and more, of course, is like it's adventure, it's trekking, it's biking and things like that. But what is actually not reported as much, but it absolutely is, it's a group holiday. And I think a lot of clients go on holiday, oddly enough, with other clients, not because it's a compromise to go on holiday with the group, because it's cheaper, because there's more numbers and things like that. But I think clients are a whole segment of the world out there who actually proactively want to go on holiday with other people who are like-minded to them, so would like to go trekking in the Alps for the sake of argument. It's quite a bonding thing, and
sure.
without a doubt, our holidays are people really do get on very well with each other on our holidays. They're only there for a week or 2 weeks. I think it's a really nourishing part to our Exodus holidays, as in people spend so much social time together, and I think that the leader is so crucial within that, not to be everyone's best friend, but just almost be a facilitator that brings that all together. So there's so many soft skills that are brought in being a good leader, which I know we're going to go and talk about some of the other things as well, but it sort of shines so nicely, not just on Exodus and the way we've actually made this amazing holiday and shown them a bit extra than they have, but also we've just sort of opened the door to them having a really nice time together, even though when you as a leader might not be there. And I think it's a really nice and actually quite a privileged role for you to be so important person in that group. So I think it's a lovely thing.
It's very true. I mean, I'm meeting up with some people actually later in the year, and we travelled on a group trip 30 years ago. Can you believe? So there's 6 or 7 of us getting together, and some 30 years later we're still in touch. People are flying from all over the world. So that just shows that bonding experience, doesn't it? And I know I'm not alone. There's lots of our customers do that and keep in touch. They find friends. We're also seeing a lot more solo travelers as well. So, this is a really important part, and maybe something we need to explore more, departures for solo travelers. So, and again, they can then meet. Yeah, we talked about it, I think, before, but it's actually something that's we're toying with for sure. And that's, again, people meeting like-minded people.
Excellent. Before we go on to activity levels, is there anything more with this, Mark, or?
I think it's worth everyone just having a bit of a run on our website and have a look at what we're doing with the best local guides. That's something we're shouting about, and that's you guys on the ground. Have a look at the videos we've been doing. There's some snippets, which I know I asked some of you to do. Thank you very much. There's various bits have gone out on social media. We've actually done filming in various parts of the country as well. There's some really slick videos with various leaders in all corners of the world. So I would just kind of have a look at the Leader Awards section and just see what we're talking about with our local guides, because there's some really, really fun stuff in there.
Excellent. Well, I know later on in this chat we're going to be talking about, the Leader of the Year awards and actually sort of being more extraordinary and what makes an amazing leader. But we were also going to talk a little bit before that, I think, about activity levels and possibly some of the things that don't necessarily go so well as well.
Yeah, we are for sure. So, I mean, as everyone will know, we've got 7 activity levels, I know for sure that particularly the American clients that we get in are not always kind of corresponding to the right trip. I know we've got a few issues there, but what I can say is we're doing our absolute utmost to get that information out to the customers. Certainly for some of your trips, if it's a first-time booker from anywhere in the world, we're sending an email out saying, look, first time with Exodus, you've booked quite a hard trekking trip. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Here's the trip notes again. Do you want to check this? Do you want to talk to us? So there's various red flags fitted into our booking process, but I mean, we can't vet everybody. We can't speak to everybody. People book from all sorts of different ways now, online, on the phone, through agents. Some agents we can talk to, some are kind of quite restrictive in the States that we don't really get much access to. But we're doing what we can. We also have a lot of information on the website, which again, if you haven't had a look, just make yourselves aware. We've got a whole fitness guide on there. So if you're preparing for a larger trek, there's a whole regime of how to prepare for it. So again, I mean, you will get somebody on a trip, and I'm sure you have stories you can tell me where you have got had somebody on a trip that wasn't quite capable. So it's how can we deal with that together? How can we support each other, and how can we kind of get that right? I guess that's the next steps.
I do want to reiterate, because it is actually something Exodus does well, is that the actual, the sort of logos and the activity level, and then the information, if you choose to find it on the website, it's not hidden, but where it describes this is what a moderate trip is, this is what a tough trip is, this is what a challenging trip is. It couldn't have been written more accurately for our trips. It really couldn't have been. It's also worth noting that, is this trip for you? It's literally the first thing clients read when they download the trip notes, not necessarily on the tabs. And that is a very honest, non-salesy piece of information about what it feels like. And if anybody has any, I think we should write something else to, drill in how tough it is or what the actual, the trails are like, then that is, I'm really all ears, because we don't want to missell anything. And it's kind of like a double-edged thing. So we're realizing that people aren't necessarily reading this before they go, but when they read the trip notes on the trip, they're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, now I know that's very true, and I think the sort of repeat Exodus people are kind of, they're used to our levels, and they know what they're looking for, and they know a bit more about it. But it's just getting that, particularly to the North American market, and getting them into the flow and knowing what our activity levels are, and getting the agents up to speed. So there's an awful lot of work going on with that. And like you say, Mark, we want you to have good people. We want you to have the right people on the trips. We don't want people to struggle. They're on holiday. They need to enjoy it. We want them to find it, a bit challenging at times, but actually be there and enjoy it. So we're doing what we can.
So actually, I mean, we had a little chat before this, and you it's the first thing. Can you just sort of summarize in, speaking on behalf of all the leaders effectively, but certainly, your own point of view, do you think it's getting worse, that the clients? Do you think the message is getting harder? I mean, we were sending this email that went to all new clients to say, can you please just double check and read the instructions before you come on holiday last year? And I, just from my point of view, but it could be clouded, I feel we kind of plateaued or even slightly improved, and clients previous to that were worse. But I don't know. What do you feel? I mean, do you feel there's a lot of inappropriate clients, or just let me know?
I can only speak from my own experience. So overall, it might be maybe plateaued, but I think it's one of the biggest challenges. Like for us to get the group with like one client that is not quite there. And I feel like when I started guiding that people were more like I was able to throw in those extras to go an extra peak, do a summit, have reviews. Whereas now sometimes we just struggle to go back.
Finish the minimum. There is no extras.
It's interesting to note, but there was I'd say around about 2010 to 2015, we cut the trips down to physically the shortest distances we possibly could. So we couldn't chop the hills off, but we could start higher. So when we already shortened the trip, we can't shorten. It's worth noting on our chalet trips, we have a bit more flexibility. And, we can say it's a lot easier to clients, sit this one out, because there's no logistical backwash for them to sit a day out, and they can go off and have a discovery day. And there's quite a lot of nice options here. But it certainly does make it difficult when we're doing our point-to-point treks with effectively no choice but to get to point B, to point C, to point D. So, on our sort of, both of you really, what do you sort of feel when, do you sort of start Saturday just going like, I hope this is going to be all right? Or, when you're doing one of these point-to-point treks, how do you feel it's sort of going and what's sort of happening when you just sort of see that person getting off the bus and you go like, oh dear.
Usually you can see already on the first day, and there is we try to make good holiday for everyone. So, but then sometimes you end up looking after the weakest link because we are responsible for safety of everyone. So, so you do find yourself spending more time with that one person, and because you can't and chase the group, and you try to keep them together, but fitter people. It's so hard for them to.
It's difficult when they take all of your time. I appreciate what you're saying. You're suddenly at the back of the group all the time with two people, and you're not around. But I think we've just got to use this kind of sit out, when we can. I think that's and hot off the press as well. We now have a process, literally as of yesterday, where we can start to look back and look at the booking process and look backwards. So if you've got somebody like this that you really had on the trip that think this person was totally inappropriate, feed it back to Mark. Let's get that back to me.
Can we give you names from 2004 and 5 and 3?
So we could block them out.
So no, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know it seems we would like to have your opinion more on this, because we were talking before, and I know Adrian's quite keen, because I think we've all got stories about clients that have either, been so, I think if they're so over the borderline, it's not really a problem, because we can just be quite hard. No, it's like, this is not a trip you're going to make. We can understand it, and they can understand it. And it's actually the problem for us. The worst case scenario is like, just give me time, I'll make it. No, we haven't got time. It's 24 hours in a day.
It's dark already. Yes.
Or even it's like, I will make it, but that he or she is not going to be in a safety scenario. Yeah, you will make it, but you are not in a proper good skill. No, you are not like with a good equilibrium or whatever. You don't trust just to leave someone in behind and you're going to be in front leading. So it's just. And where is the line? No, we make this decision. It's very tough.
It's really hard, isn't it? I go on, Mark. Sorry.
No, sorry. I've got things to say about this, but I'd be really interested in an X's point of view from other trips, whether that's from Nepal and all the other places you've led, and also you get the feedback from all these other places. I know how we're making decisions, but before I talk about that, do you have any reflection on how other operators are making decisions about this client can or can't go, and especially when that client is really employment for the other 10 members of the group, for example?
It's tough, isn't it? I think the thing is, in certain other parts of the world, you've often got more staff members that can jump in, which you haven't got access to. You're on your own a lot of the time. So if I'm talking about Asia or my time in South America, like on the Inca Trail, there'd be a bunch of people that could kind of jump in and be with the back markers or what have you. So I think all you can do is manage it as well as you can. You know, as you've already said, on day one, you've already worked out the weaker links because you've probably got a lesser walk the first day. You've kind of worked out where the problems might be, which you don't always get it right, but I think you generally get an impression. And then whether that then means to start a little bit earlier on the bigger days, see how it goes. But if we get somebody that is impacting the rest of the group, and obviously if it's a safety issue, that's something else. But if it's impacting the rest of the group and it's causing them to not have a good time, you've just, unfortunately, with the help of Mark and the office, there's got to be a decision to get that person to sit out for a day, or actually, if we have to, remove them from the trip, which is not something we want to do, and that's not an easy decision to make. But if it starts to be a safety issue or it starts to cause problems for the group, that's got to happen, because we're not in a position where we've got loads of staff that are just going to help drag them up the hill. I mean, do you use back markers as well? Because often there's somebody that wants to be a leader, isn't there? Can you always use somebody? Does that happen?
So just because I think Adrian's got things to say, I will tell you what we do at the moment, and I'd like to discuss that with you. And I would like to also sort of drill in to what help Exodus can give us in the actual process day by day when we come to decide whether the client is appropriate or not, because we all got to be on side for this. But Adrian, you seem to be like just trying to mention something before we go on to what we actually do.
Well, I think that even every trip is different, of course, because here we have two completely different realities. One of them is the chalet trip, the GWM. If one day someone cannot come, that is not the end of the world. Can stay in the chalet. You can offer like a easier walk in the valley or like a museum. Or we have like the cable cars just to avoid the downhill. But when we are like in all the circuit, the Tour de Mont Blanc, is just or you are coming or you are taking the local bus to cross countries on your own. That is not always easy.
Yes.
And at some point, the good point of Tour de Mont Blanc or is the area, it's easy to navigate. So you can give instructions to the people in the front and be in the back. But personally, I don't like to put people as a back markers, because at some point they are like giving more attention to the group. If there is someone that voluntarily wants to be in the back helping, that there is always someone that wants to help. I mean, you have an angel in the group and it will be much easier, but not always happens.
It's not always possible. No, for sure.
You couldn't be like running to the front, giving instruction and running down. So and we are alone. We are alone in the field.
I think. Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to go through every X, Y, and Z of that, but we know there are things that we can do that can help, like training all the clients up on the day one, how to use their poles and how to walk with a decent pace. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to just focus a little bit more on the process of what happens when we're trying to make a decision. And I want not exactly want your sign off with this, Mark, but I want at least your empathy, and then from that, possibly what we would do in the future, because it's a when, not an if, that we get the next sort of inappropriate client coming on.
Of course.
But as we do it at the moment, we do it effectively on time. So we say that these clients, they have to arrive at the campsite or the hotel by 5:30 the next day. Now, if it's 5:31, we're not going to be a dickhead. We're going to actually let them on the trip. But what we don't want to be is like go to 6 or 6:15, because then we're getting in. We're not having time to have the showers. We're not having time to even get to dinner on time. Hotels start complaining and things like that. So, when someone is so far over the edge, it's actually quite easy just to say tomorrow's not for you. What we then do when it's looking like it's borderline 5:30, we might be starting to talk to the clients about there's an easy day coming up. You can come on that day. But looking forward, these are going to be harder days, and we start to tell the clients in advance that there's going to have to be some sort of plan Bs. And we do have plan Bs for all these days, which is effectively coming in and taking the bus in the train. And it's worth noting, in the trip notes, we say that this will also be a thing that can happen. So at least we can get the paper out and actually show them, which is a tool. And I think that we can start to sort of be empathetic to the client and say, look, I just think an extra rest day is really going to help with you, and no, this is too far, too remote. So most clients are realistic of this, and we can persuade them to drop out. We do actually get a certain segment of clients, and they're not always American, but they're in our, and but I think they've been brought up to strive and achieve, and when they don't strive and achieve, they struggle to see failure in themselves, and these people are actually very difficult for us to deal with. And I think this is where it comes into a problem. I'm thinking we've all got our stories. So I think this is the bit where we have to come to when we feel that we're already saying right now that we will sacrifice the other people in the group to a certain degree to say, this lady or this person is making it by 5:30. Everyone else is unhappy with this being the case, but she still gets to stay in the group because it's 5:30 and she's made it. Yeah. But it's when it's borderline and she's sucking, I'm saying it's he as well, of course. They suck up all the time of the leader. Do we have anything where we can then come to the person and just go like, if we're telling the truth, we'll just say like, you're making everyone miserable, but we can't say that.
You can't say that. No, it'd be quite wrong, wouldn't it?
What is the process, or is there a process where we can say to borderline clients, we've made this decision for you, we're trying to say it nicely. Now, what we don't want to do is Exodus come back and be like all devil's advocate about this and go like, oh, maybe give it another day, see what you think. Sometimes we want to be a bit more black and white about this. And so can you tell me from the Exodus point of view what we need to say to you to get a black and white decision?
Sure. Well, I think for a starter, you've got an actual, a metric there, haven't you? You've got a time that they need to get in. So I think within your briefing, there's an expectation to almost mention that. I mean, not be harsh, but say, look, guys, there's some tough days, and we really need to be aiming for that 5:30 finish because of these reasons. So you've already set that there's a time limit. So if we need to go back to that, we've already mentioned it. That's always a good point. And it is always, our customer service team are fantastic at this. So I'm not passing the buck when I say this, but every situation is going to be different. So it'd be difficult for me to say, yes, we will always do this. If we've shown the client compassion, we've given them time, we've helped them all we can, it's really impacting the group. I think the next thing to do is talk to customer service. They will be back to you pretty quick, Mark, and talk about it in detail quickly. Look, we need to make a decision tomorrow on this. This is what's happened. If we've got actual evidence that this person is struggling and it is late every night for the last couple of nights, they will know the best way to kind of approach it with the situation you've got. So I think, we need to be more proactive on that for sure, and call it out a little bit maybe sooner so that the conversation can start. Even then, if that person suddenly after a couple of days finds their second wind and suddenly they are, doing better because they've got in their stride. But I think start that conversation earlier with customer service, because I've seen situations around the world with all sorts of things where the sooner we know about it, the more information we've got, the better decision we can kind of make, and they can often maybe step in for you and help you rather than put the leader in any sort of awkward situation. We can start communications directly with the client sometimes. I know if you're on the side of a mountain, what I've just said is probably useless, but I think you've got comms mostly and ways we can keep
Absolutely.
In touch.
So it's worth noting, because I know we can't go into it in exponential detail, but I'm going to back this up with some sort of summary on the WhatsApp group afterwards, specifically about the process of what we do and how compassionate we have to be, but what the process is for borderline clients. And I'm very much happy to be the person who is in the loop to help break that bad news to that person as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I think. Yeah,
we logistics of moving on to the other thing, and and obviously help you talk to the person. We had another interesting suggestion, actually. I can't remember if it was from Aglia, or I think it was from Aglia. So we have, looking back in the past of all the leaders we've had leaders who've done years and they just never seem to have these problems. So I don't know if they've got the gravitas or the charm, or they've got something else which just suddenly people obey them better. But we were wondering, is there anything about in the way of leader training, of like where soft skills become hard skills? How to basically deliver bad news in a convincing way. Have you got any?
Well, what I can say, if I'm
is there any training that you think that could be given? this amount, and I bet if it's a problem for us, it is also a problem for other leaders, where we can basically train leaders up just to, I don't mean to be more authoritative, because looking back in time, we've had leaders who've been authoritative and not done a very good job at all. We've had other ones who've just had this quiet authority. We've had other ones which have been charming and it's worked. So we don't know what the magic sauce is.
These situations, I think it's not, it's to kind of show understanding, isn't it? And sort of say to the client, look, if this is for your benefit, I can see you're not enjoying it, and kind of steer it in that way. But to actually do training on that is difficult, because every situation is different. If I look at some of my experience with mountain leaders particularly in Peru, those guys, I've never seen people get a group together and revved up like those kind of Inca Trail guys could. And they seem to be able to just say the rudest things to people and get away with it somehow. But they often just got even these weak people up a mountain. I don't know how they did it at high altitude. So it's some of that I don't think we can train. I think what we can do to help is take some of that away from the leaders, and actually with getting customer services in, I'm back to that one. But I think, again, we can help you, and so not make you be the bad person in this, and try and take some of that away, because you can suddenly have a whole group, if they really like this person and you're telling them to not walk, you've suddenly got, a whole mutiny on board, haven't you? So it's better that it's coming from somewhere else.
If all of a sudden they burst into tears and the whole group is going like, "Oh, what did you say that to her for? She's crying now," and you're like,
I know it's hard. So I think all we can do, every situation is different, is we can discuss it with the team. We better move on. So I'm not steering. I'm not shying away, because this is a good section, but we're time is moving.
Okay, I don't want to put you guys on the thing, but can you think of the most positive thing to say?
Can we go a bit more? It sounds like all of our customers are terrible.
For Exodus, or how you feel that do you feel like do you just come back and work for Exodus because it's the easiest thing, or do you feel this is the good choice and you continue to make a good choice? I mean, what's your sort of rationale to wishing to work with us, and positive things about that side of it? Is there anything that you feel
has this already, so I think we'll answer for
go for it. I mean, at some point for us, our situation is like the season here is so long, and we find like Exodus is looking after us so good. We have everything. Let's say we have accommodation, we have food, and we have a long season, and we can work week after week, and that's, in a place like Chamonix, for example, is very convenient, because we are just coming one time, we are working a few weeks, and we are leaving later, or having like a free week in the middle. That's very convenient for us. And I have so many colleagues, and I think that my position in this team is like better than the situation of other colleagues. So I'm very happy because of that. For example, it's one of the things.
It's having people to back you up as well, like having Mark.
You feel as an integrated team.
Yes. It's. I think like during the season as well, things can start a bit hard sometimes, and it's so important to have that network of your colleagues to bounce off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got obviously challenges here, but is there anything that Exodus can do better to support you, or is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, at the moment, I think that here we have so many leaders, and we have Mark that has a lot of experience on the field and also in the office. And I mean, my opinion is like I'm not missing any other support. I think that we are like pretty fine as how is everything working, because at some point, like the local operator is like managing all these things and has plenty of knowledge, and I'm not missing in this scenario any other support from the office. Let's see now. The first time that we need to go to the office just to tell our miseries with the clients that cannot follow.
Proof is in the pudding. For sure. But I mean, that's why I'm around as well. So I know I don't get to talk to you guys individually, but Mark and I chat quite a lot. So I think it should be said that I am here to support you, even though I'm not talking individually. Whatever I can do from this side. And it definitely, let's follow this through. And if you do get a client that kind of is a problem, and we can backtrack and follow that booking backwards. So it's important important that that information goes to Mark and we talk to customer service. So yeah, let's try out what we're saying here.
I would like to just add a little bit. I mean, I suppose from the leader's point of view, I mean, they see mostly what's happening here locally, and a lot of that sort of comes through me and that sort of level of support. But I do think it's worth acknowledging wider what it's like for us to be associated with a larger company like Exodus. And I think, looking at all the other operators out there, I mean, I think everyone's striving to do a similar thing. But I've got to say that I think we all do benefit from the fact that Exodus is a very modern company. And by that, I mean, it's not just that they do dynamic pricing and they're quite sort of savvy about the way they do their marketing, but equally, I mean, I think they're very good at training up the salespeople, the agents. And I don't think it's just a case of like, just bung her on, we'll get a commission, bung her on, So although we may well get clients which are not actually appropriate, it's because they've somehow tricked us through the way to the filter. It's not because someone's just like, book them on. And I don't think it's like other operators who are only ever chasing commissions. I think there's a lot more integrity to Exodus, who are really endeavoring to do it properly, not just for the clients, but also for everybody else who are in sometimes quite fragile communities. We're obviously in Europe, it's a little less fragile, but I think that their Exodus overall, and in the way they have their policy, and I know you can talk about the B Corp side of this as well. I mean, they've got a duty of care to look after everyone, both the clients and us. And I do think actually we benefit from that, even though some inappropriate clients come. But I think because Exodus is so modern, because Exodus has values and standards which shine through, I think that resonates with the type of client we get. And I think the type of client we get, by and large, is a nice, understanding because of that influence. So I think there's you see it local, but actually I think we are in the shadow, but more in the bright light of what Exodus is actually sort of doing as well, in my opinion.
No, it's good to hear. I mean, on that note, we do send out round about 70, 80 staff members every year on educational. So, yes, holiday,
We've got 19 of them coming in October.
Have you got? Oh wow! All at once. Okay. Well, normally it's only one, but you've got loads of them at once. No, but that kind of is invaluable at different parts of. So let's say a salesperson, or it could be from any team, go out on a trip. They would have to meet with me and our operational quality team and the product manager. And before they go, when they come back, everything's fed back in, and then they would become an expert on that trip. So if you've got a salesperson with a tricky question on one of your trips, there will be an expert in the office that they can literally go to and say, well, look, you did this trip last year. What's that second pass like that day? Will this person be able to do it, for instance? So there's knowledge within the team.
I'm feeling loads of questions all the time. I mean, once a week, twice a week, I get a question which is about God, whatever, tents, sleeping bags, distances. Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked also about, be more extraordinary. It's the new surprise and delight. Making the trip yours, and client impressions and things we can do extra to wow the client. So have you got any good stories or any thoughts about what we could do for that and what this drive might be?
Well, I was talking to a leader a few weeks back, and she runs trips in Italy, and she does this great little thing where sort of like a Wednesday night, free night, they're at this lodge quite remote, and they go out and she makes popcorn and they go and look at the stars. But she said she always says to the group, well, don't pop this out on, in your reviews, because, hey, it doesn't happen every week. We're really lucky tonight that this has happened. Now, you pretty much know in 7 nights, one of the nights through the summer is going to be clear and you're going to do that stargazing and it's all going to work okay. But she just makes people feel really special in the way she delivers it. And look, it's really good tonight. This was such a view. So I think sometimes it's in the delivery and how you explain it to the group. That's kind of half the job that makes it a special moment. So that's kind of quite a nice story. But I think that leads into our sort of a leader awards. And I know, Adrian, very well done. You're on our shortlist and very, very close to
very short shortlist.
I mean, very short shortlist. So to give you an idea, 2,500. You were close. You were close. And Tim obviously got a runner up in there as well. So. But it was very close. There was a lot of competition.
Not enough. Okay. Thanks.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I'm trying to give you a bit of background here. So this year, I'm hoping to see you there. So we get round about 2,500 nominations throughout the year. So again, I think if you've had a good trip, why not call it out and say to your group, actually, you could nominate me, and why not? People do. That all gets collated. I make a short list. That's normally 12, 14 people. No hard and fast rules on that. I try and include as many as I can. I make up a pack with all customer comments, and that goes to our judges. They have time to review it. We all get together for about 2 hours. I'm not allowed to kind of put my input into this, obviously, because I'd be quite swayed. So we have 10 judges, 2 hours, and they kind of trawl it all through, and we get a winner, we get runners up, we get highly commended, and we normally get a Hall of Fame member. So that's somebody that's probably won previously, and they just keep appearing in the nominations every year. So there's money to be won here, people. So the winner last year, Mayank from India, he got £2,500 to spend on an Exodus trip, £1,000 in his pocket, and 1,000 for his chosen charity. So he's on his way to Vietnam anytime soon. So I think it's definitely worth it. And I know Mark's going to ask me, well, how, and Adrian's going to say, well, why did I just miss it? What was these special moments? So it's obviously a feeling from the judges in the feedback that's given. But the one thing that came through for Mayank, there was a particular incident that he dealt with extremely well, and a lot of people had commented on that. I won't talk the detail of it, but he dealt with this particular terrible incident very, very well. Didn't affect our group, but he sorted it, and made people feel very safe with him. But particularly, it was his storytelling. He could kind of take the whole religion of India and put it into a 15-minute chat on a bus, and explain it really clearly. So I think the job, and it's easier said than done, is to take something very complex and make it simple and make it interesting. So that really came across. Tim, particularly his slideshows and kind of what he's doing out on the trail. But I mean, equally, you had a lot of things as well, Adrian, that were coming across. So, you know, it was a hair's breadth. And again, we had 3 runners up, which we don't always have. So competition was fierce in 2025. So, but hopefully that's given you a bit of background. But it's taken very, very seriously. But it's more of a feeling. It's not just leader score. So not everybody here got 5 out of 5. So it's often things that have happened. It's kind of what we're seeing in those comments and how the group are feeling about it.
So Mark, just looking either within the leader awards, or equally people who are just or leaders which are scoring the 5s and the high 4-point whatevers, is there any traits that you feel that are equal across all leaders? Is there something like a winning formula that all of these leaders do that are very successful that we can almost use as a template, or suggest these are things that definitely should be in your repertoire?
What shines? Yeah, it's a very good question. If I pick any of these people out, it's absolutely it's the organization and it's the storytelling. So if I take Joao, the cycling guy on the right there, he does a slideshow at the beginning of the trip, and he actually puts those slides into WhatsApp. So every day you've got a route and where he's cycling, and just these things come across within his feedback of how organised he is. He's very short to the point with his commentary, great storytelling. I always use the stones and bones sort of thing, whereas you don't go into all the detail and the dates of the relic you're looking at. Just give it some short, sharp stories behind it. So I mean, there's lots of things you can talk about on the mountain for sure, and giving people background of this climate change or whatever it might be, but some short, sharp stories where they can see it with their eyes visually. I think that comes across to our clients, and that just is that difference between being really good and just that probably edge.
And I think it's something that we should really do. So I think one of the things that, as IMLs in this area, I think we can be it's not so much educators, but informers. So absolutely. And I don't think we should shy away from actually topics like, obviously, the glaciers and erosion and all the other problems that happen here. But I think bagging it up in a narrative that's interesting. So I don't think clients are going to be particularly interested in the Latin names of plants, but they probably would be quite interested in the medical uses of those plants, or absolutely. How, different animals might survive off that specific plant. So a bit more David Attenborough and a bit less sort of, something I've read in a book, I think would go an awfully long way. I think as well, humor is always going to be a winning formula. But I think if you can be quite concise and just have so many interesting factoids and bits, I think that really, really makes leaders exceptional. And I think it makes, shush everybody, Adrian speaking. What are you going to tell us about now, Adrian? And you launch into your, this is cheese, conversation or whatever it is, And I think having, because we're quite fortunate, we have a lot of leaders that have been back time after time after time. So even without trying, I bet you have so many stories that you don't even know you have. And I think it's where you might look for improvement is like, how can I just join that all together into being one big, long, interesting story and one big, long narrative? And I think, this extraordinary thing as well is like, if there was something along the lines of Starry Nights, special views, I've got some sort of special thing that I can show that I know other leaders don't bother to do or don't do, then I definitely think you should put that in. I know for Tim is taking photographs and doing a slideshow. He actually puts a lot of effort and work into that, but it certainly bears fruit for him. I know, obviously, for you guys, you put in loads of effort. I'm not saying like you're any less than Tim, but I just think, as you're thinking about how you can be a leader and where there is room for improvement, I think it's certainly worth choosing one or two things and striving for that and just see how it goes. And
I think so. I think it is those sort of just those little moments, isn't it? And again, you've probably got it lined up each week, but it just needs to look a little bit kind of spontaneous, whatever it might be. And I think WhatsApp is probably something that can help you as well, which I know you're using, and I think Adrian has some comments on this, but I've just thrown down a few things here of how you can actually use it. Obviously it's great for reminders because we know that the group forgets everything you've told them within 30 seconds. So that's really useful. But going back to Joao on his cycling trip and how he uses the slides and then he drops them into his WhatsApp. Well, once he's done that, pretty easy to do it every week, and as long as he does it with a bit of enthusiasm, nobody knows any different, and he's actually going that extra mile. But once it's set up, really easy to do. So sharing map pins, plenty of recommendations if there's free time, not so much on your trips, I know, but if there's restaurant recommendations, all of that can go in the WhatsApp. And again, if you do start talking about a glacier melt, maybe there's some more details or photographs of what it used to look like 15 years ago, and there's a link to that website that you can just ping to the group. All those bits are just adding extra information and really showing your knowledge of the area. So I think use WhatsApp more and try and bring those things in. But have you got anything? I'm talking too much. Anything you want to add, Adrian?
No, other than when I look at the feedback, I notice that I think the word that sort of comes on, the two words that come, that always going hand in hand with the top scorers are expert and passionate. And I think when you talk to the people who are expert and passionate, it's not because they've got better knowledge than everyone else, but they actually are possibly just better at telling the clients about that. And I think the WhatsApp group is a really, really good tool, especially, and I think it should also be used with humor. And I think the third one should be humor as well. So if you've got like this, look at the size of my cake, and just share it amongst the group, or just having the group, as a really encourage your clients to like take photographs of themselves on top of mountains, but be maybe an instigator of just saying like, this is a good way to use the group. Click, here's a nice photograph of us all standing, and then other people will start posting their photographs at night time. I think that's very good. I think being an educator and informer. So if you've got like a picture of the Murdy Glass from 50 years ago, and say like, it's not always happy. Look how big this used to be and where it is now, and whether it's butterflies or snakes or whatever it is, but have something that you can follow up, especially if you've got interesting things to say, and if you can follow that up with an interesting photo or an interesting little link. And I think once, as Mark was saying, once you've got that library of things, where you just obviously use it time and time again.
That's the point. I think that at some point in the middle of the season and after a couple of seasons, you have like a proper library with all your resources, pictures, whatever. But I think at some point, depends of the group a little bit. You need to listen and look after the group. And there is still people without WhatsApp. So if maybe on these groups, the importance of WhatsApp shouldn't be that big. But when all the people has WhatsApp, I suggest just not to take the library as a copy paste and every day just put the same. Every group has a different opinions or interest, and always you can these people is listening to me when I'm talking about history. So here I have my white and black and white pictures, I will send them. Or this people is more into the birds, so I have here even the recordings of the birds, and I can send them. Yeah, this one is the one that we've been watching today.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I think it's very
that's
useful.
Really good.
I use a lot WhatsApp just to support my explanations.
Yeah.
But I think that there is no template or a formula. I mean, it's always like looking to the group. Yes.
I think one of the things is just putting that little bit of energy into that. Though.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's like,
you definitely don't want it to look like I do this every week and here, bang, bang, bang. Don't do that.
If you're quick on your phone because you've done it a lot, and you can just go swipe, there's a photo, and well, I'm going to take that photograph because there's always that waterfall in the background. I know it's a great photograph. Here we are again, third time. But it's going to be a winner. Just do it. And that tonight you can just forward that brilliant photo or whatever it is. So it's not actually fake. All you're doing is taking the best bits and repeating them week and week again. But that little bit of energy to actually do that, I think it just sets the scene. But then hopefully it gets a bit more organic and the clients start contributing more and more as well to it. And then, it becomes actually like an entity within the group, which I think is good.
Days with bad weather, my typical resource is just take a picture and paint the mountains behind and send a picture. Oh, nice view today. And other people is laughing and it's cloudy. What we can do?
I think humor goes a hell of a long way.
Well, it definitely does. I think just to finish, if you have got people that can't join WhatsApp, don't want to, just don't miss them out. Maybe those links, just send them to their email. Again, that's going to get you a few brownie points as well. So, just don't miss them out. Say, look, I know you're not part of the group, but I've sent it all the information you'll find. Just be nice. And again, that's where we've probably got to put a few notices up for daily reminders and go back to the old ways just to make everybody feel inclusive. I know for sure, again, our good friends in North America don't tend to have WhatsApp. We're trying to put it again at the forefront of the notes to download it before they... No, well, I don't know what it is. I know Southeast Asia, they use something called Line, but I don't know what they use in America. But WhatsApp doesn't seem to be as widespread as it is.
Anyway, it's part of what we do, and I think we should be, download it for the week and delete it at the end of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
It doesn't matter that it's not Signal or Telegraph.
But sometimes they don't receive the SMS, the text with a code to verify.
Oh, is there actually a technical problem?
Yeah, because you download WhatsApp here and you need to receive a text message with a code just to verify your telephone, and they cannot activate the WhatsApp sometimes.
Okay, well, that's
okay. Well, we're trying to get it. We're trying to get it in the
emails or find a way. I mean, every group is.
We're trying to get it in the notes so that they download it before they come. They're aware. But again, they've got to read the notes, haven't they? So.
I don't think we want to open that 45-minute conversation.
Let's not do that.
I wouldn't know.
Very briefly, have you got any thoughts about WhatsApp on your groups or anything? Or you're happy with the way, or
I'm happy.
Yes, it works. Okay, that's cool. I just want to put in a tiny bit about social media. So definitely for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of our season, I'm going to be asking you to take photos and forward them to me, and I want to either you load them onto Instagram in exchange of more clients equal more tips, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's included in the price that I pay you already. But I think it's quite cool. So, if you can post them yourself, but if you're not keen to post them yourself, give them to me, and then I can at least send them on to Exodus and they can put on to Facebook and stuff like that. But I think little videos of anything that looks, the flowers are out, whatever it happens to be, I think it's super important, for these first few weeks that this starts happening. And ideally, I'm not chasing you. You're just like, there's a nice photo mark, there's a nice photo mark, there's a nice photo mark. Or, I'm a bit reticent to say that, include me in on the group and I'll just hoover a few photos off that. And so that would be good.
I've got a little carrot for you guys. Actually, I've got quite a good deal with Osprey backpacks. I can get you a 40% discount if you're nice to me. That's something to talk about. Seriously, I can pass the code to Mark. They will post to Europe. So I don't know. Okay. Obviously, backpacks are very personal, but Osprey is pretty good kit. So we can get you. So there we go. So I'll make sure Mark has that.
I know, is there a limited amount or what's the,
well if I start seeing it on eBay, then obviously that's but no, a sensible.
Does it come with an Exodus logo on it or?
No. It can do if you wish. It's just a genuine deal. I mean, I do have a few packs with Exodus on if you really want one, but if you order from the company, this is.
No, I didn't get it.
This is
a. Oh, you're the one. Kerry's got one.
I mean, obviously, this will get added up at the end of the year, how much it's being used, and if it's abused, then then that. But if you're ordering 10 of,
Osprey want us to do it. I mean, I guess for them, they're seeing like the leader with an Osprey bag on their back. I mean, that's got to be good too.
Absolutely, the more pictures they get, it's kind of that subtle marketing, isn't it? Whereas there's an Exodus picture, but it's somebody's wearing an Osprey backpack. It's advertising without advertising. So
am I allowed? I mean, we haven't got that many leaders. I mean, but am I allowed to basically say if anybody of our leaders wants an Osprey bag, it's possible to give them this code? Am I allowed to do that?
You can pass that. You can pass the code out. Equally, if everybody wants the same pack and there's like 10, you can talk to me and I can try and get a better deal. But I mean, if everybody's different, but yeah, just talk to me, Mark, and we'll. But yeah, all I like to say is there's some good deals we can put your way.
Okay. Just to wrap it up, and I know it's something that Exodus does really, really well, but can you just cover a little bit about the responsibility and the sort of ethical side? Because I really think this is something that I think a lot of clients that come with us, one of the reasons that they've come to Exodus, whether it's been organic or they've put in like on AI, I'd like to go on an ethical trekking trip or whatever it is, but responsible tourism and sustainable tourism and something that just gives a little bit back. I think Exodus does exceptionally well on this side. If you could just sort of give us a summary of that'd be awesome.
Yeah, look, just real quick, because I think it's important you're talking about this on your trips. So through surveys that we've sent out, you can see 92% of Exodus customers tell us it's really important that the trips they're booking are kind of have nature in mind, and we have this policy of thriving nature needs thriving people, which needs thriving nature, and it's this kind of ongoing circle. And this is all part of our sort of B Corp corporation certification that Mark touched on earlier on. So, and this is where we've really, as a company, not only do we try and make everyone inclusive within the company, but that's outside, and things we do, places we go, places we visit, where we're really trying to give back to the nature and give back to the local communities. So for every person that books an Exodus trip, £2.50 goes into our foundation, which doesn't sound a lot, but over 30,000 customers, quite a bit of cash. And we also rewild in the Apennines at the moment. Actually, in Italy, in the Apennines, we rewild 100 square meters for every person that books. So two very important parts of things that for every person that joins a trip that we do. Within that HEF process, there's 3 questions on sustainability, and you can see them there. And actually, these are the scores for last year, and you're doing pretty well overall. You've got 4.27 for benefiting communities. Our average is 4.45. I'll read these out for anybody listening. Benefiting the natural environment, you're actually quite high, 4.41, average 4.27. So people are obviously feeling that, seeing the environment, what we're doing in the area is really having a positive impact. Minimizing carbon emissions is quite a difficult one to kind of prove, but it's a trekking trip, I guess. So you're not throwing black smoke out with an old truck driving through Africa.
I think camping trips score very highly on this, and actually just having everyone under one roof scores really highly, as opposed to having them in a big hotel and things like that.
The big chains and that, saying at places with character camping, that tends to kind of help. And again, carbon emissions, the one thing people will say to you is, well, I've just flown from America, for Christ's sake, but it's like, well, yes, you have. Equally, there's decisions that they can make if they're booking the flight through us. There's greener airlines using better planes. If they're coming from the UK, we're encouraging people to book train trips. We have options, and that we can help them with that, to actually take the train to Chamonix or whatever, to your destination, to join the trip. So there's things that we can definitely do, and definitely things that you can talk about. And I think it's important you do talk about the environment and how some of that money, by booking an Exodus trip, how it's benefiting the local sort of community and what have you. And we're spending our money locally and giving it to Mark as well. But you know what I'm saying. I'm going to quickly move on to our foundation. have a look on the website and you can really see some of the projects that we're getting involved with. So everything from disaster relief to our Wild at Heart project, which is, I mean, there's so many elements to this. That at the moment, so we're doing things in Vietnam, in Africa, in India with tigers. Quite an important one that might resonate well with you guys is the mountain lioness project in Tanzania. So it's very hard for females to actually become leaders on Mount Kilimanjaro, and they've sort of been porters, but they could never be leaders. So again, by our foundation has kind of helped a project that has allowed ladies to get trained and become leaders. And actually, we know already seeing some ladies coming through with fantastic scores. So these projects are making a real difference and empowering different kind of areas and different people. So again, have a look at the different projects we're involved with, and I think just to make people aware, particularly that they can actually give a bit of money if they want, but just make them aware of what Exodus is doing in the various communities. It's really important if you can spread the word.
I think as well it's worth noting that Exodus have come to me and we haven't used it, and it's not like a set budget, but they would be very happy and interested if any of the leaders have a idea where money could be spent locally. And I think it's ideally something, it's not just like chipping a few £100 or a few £1,000 or whatever into like a massive project. It's more, do you know anything locally that, it doesn't even need to be 100% on our trip. It's obviously good if it is something we can visit. But if you know something which is, even it could be just, somebody's special garden, which is, I don't know, just, trying to do wildflowers in the area or something like that, but something which is promoting this area in some sort of way, which is either protecting the environment or protecting the sustainability of the area. Exodus might well want to put their name to that and put their money to it as well.
We've definitely, we've got Kickstarter projects that we can kind of get £2,500 for something like that. So we had a cycling trip in Sri Lanka, and they all stopped at this tea stall, and actually through this project they've been able to get a new stall, some cover, some seats. So it's actually set up a family with a business, and now our groups go there. So those are the sort of things we want to hear about. Absolutely.
Sometimes actually, I mean, they've offered it, but I haven't come up with a good enough idea. They said there's no time limit on this. So it's really, if there is a good idea, then I think, Exodus might well want to put their name and a few bucks towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can put you in touch with our team, and they, again, you can just open a conversation there. The sustainability team are excellent to talk to. They also have ideas, so we can easily hook you up and start something going. So have a look at the website. That's just so you're aware of the foundation. Actually, the foundation literally of last week, if people want to donate, it actually comes up in their checkout process now that they can donate, because we found that only about 10% of customers knew about the foundation. So again, very important that you guys talk about it on the ground.
This is donating before they go on holiday or after they go on holiday?
This is at the point of checkout. So this is before if they want to, but at least it makes them aware. If they don't at that point, at least they're aware of it, because we just find that they're not even aware we have a foundation. So it's not that we're trying to grab their money, it's getting that awareness out there that we're doing some good. The more you can talk about it, the more you know about the various projects. I think that can only be a positive thing.
Excellent. All right, superb.
I think we're virtually there. Any final questions, folks?
No. Let me just check up with this or record. Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, if we've got to do it all again now, that was a run through. Now we'll do the proper thing. I like
it. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. I thought it was a great idea. I'm going to set up the WhatsApp group. I'll let you know if there's any other questions. I do think there's other topics within that, probably more on the bad stuff than the good stuff that might be worth exploring. And I think that maybe Cheryl's sharing some of our stories about things which haven't actually happened well might be something, a learning exercise that
I'd be pleased to hear some of those stories. We could sort of sit around and have a bit of a chat about that. And we do always remember the bad stuff, I know, but actually it's equally important to talk about it and see how we could do better next time. So I'm up for all of that.
My recommendation is you get on the plane, come out here, get drunk, and then tell us all about it. And then it
sounds good, because I've not explored your area enough, actually, and it's down the road, isn't it? So we need to make that happen. So thank you all, and thank you for all you're doing for us, and we will catch up soon.
Terrific. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. I'm going to stop recording. I don't know if that's going to hang up at the same time.
Okay.
Your turn.
Stop.
Save.